I'm Chaz.
And I'm Dan. Welcome to Wine is Serious Business, episode 95. Really excited again. We've got another great guest. We've got some more fantastic white wines on the table today. We're hitting New York Riesling. It's been a long time since we've been there, so we're really excited to get back, continue the search for the great American Riesling in a more all-encompassing sense, including the state that isn't on the West Coast that really deserves some credit for producing solid Riesling. Our guest today is our friend Vivian. She's been a friend of ours, drink wine together for a while. She's got a great palate. Really appreciates some of the great white wines of the world, so we've been really excited to get her on to drink some Riesling together too. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, thanks, Dan. I am so happy to be here, but just to start that off, I love wine. Wine is my passion. I love food and I love to cook. I'm always thinking of what's a really good wine you want to drink when you're eating something, from like a burger or to a steak to fish. And I love this idea of the Rieslings in the United States, because a lot of times we think of wines like this from Germany or Alsace, you know, from Europe. So I love to write about wine and food, and my blog is called VivaciousSgourmand.com. And that's what I do in my free time. I have a day job.
And so do we. So that's one of the things we like about her blog, right? Is that it's as a hobby, and it's because of because it's her passion. And she still does some great work, so definitely check it out. We'll link it up down below.
Absolutely.
Right now we're going to get into wine number one. This is the Ravines Dry Riesling from the Finger Lakes, vintage 2008. This is from Seneca Lake. I'm going to flash a map up there, probably with little MS Paint circles drawn around the map so you can see what we're talking about. But there are three big lakes here.
Engineering.
Well, yeah. Oh, I lied to you. It's Cayuga Lake, not Seneca Lake. Cayuga Lake. I'll get the picture right. You'll be able to see it. The visual cues will be there.
All right.
Get to it, man.
Yeah.
Dry Riesling. Dry Riesling.
So where'd you get these wines?
So these wines, the first three that we're going to do today were essentially a gift. So a guy from out of New York, Dana Estep.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Dana. This is really awesome. Watched our earlier review of New York Riesling. Thanks to the connection on New York Cork Report, so thanks for posting that.
Cool.
A lot of good things from New York coming out, and he said that he wanted to expose us to more New York Riesling. It's a great deal, because we can't buy it. It's not at the stores out there.
Yeah.
So he flew out to visit his daughter, brought 3 bottles, and just gave them to us. These first 3 bottles is like, you guys should check these out. I want to share some of the good stuff that's going on with New York Riesling. So we really appreciate it. You know, Riesling needs more fans.
Thank you very much for this.
Like, pretty rad.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, this is $17. To put price points on this too, so this is $17 retail.
And I don't even know you, Dan, but thank you very much. All right. Well, I'm excited because I think about the Finger Lakes. I think about cross-country skiing and apples for some reason. So
There's a bit of the green apple
We'll say
in
nice
this.
mellow apple.
There's a bit of like green melon in this too.
Something a little musky.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of
Limes.
musk.
Oh yeah, totally. That part of the melon. Green apple peels definitely dominate for me, right? Like the thicker green apple sense.
But pretty straightforward on the nose. It smells nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like a touch of petrol to me. Just a little bit of that. There's sort of that component.
Just a little bit, and yeah, sort of coming off like I think when we tasted through these very very shortly to make sure that they weren't corked ahead of time, and yeah, sort of like almost an Alsatian vibe
Yeah,
to it.
actually, totally. And that, when I say that, I mean it's a compliment, because it's got this interesting complexity to the nose. Wow, it's a lot brighter
Yeah.
than I.
Acidity's full on.
Real acidity.
Rip and
with some
dry.
stones. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Wet stone.
Wet stones, lots of lime, lime juice, like we're talking about the bitterness, like a lemon rind, or a lime rind.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
And
Got
just
some of the seeds
and the
there.
fruit's even on the lighter side, right? Like you're getting kind of like a ghost of the green apple there, but it's citrus driven, and even kind of like driven by the dryness. Like the acidity and minerality, I think, are the main components of this wine.
Yeah, and again Alsatian in style, straight up.
This would be a good food wine, because it's got, it's not a sweet wine. So this is, sometimes I think the natural sort of assumption is that this wine is sweet, and it's not. It's got this really nice sort of citrus component to it, but it would be great with chicken on the grill, even like a veggie burger with a little cheddar cheese.
Ooh, clever,
Yeah.
clever.
Couscous salad would be good with this, with some caramelized mushrooms and just maybe a little orange.
A little bit of
orange
richness
sections,
to bring that up.
And some toasted nuts or something.
But I'm digging it, and the comparison to Alsace is really striking me a lot because it's got a little of that more firm edge to it too. Like you would never describe this as like luscious or rich or juicy.
Right.
It's got like this firm expression of Riesling. Again, lots of structure going on, and it really holds it all together. I think the food pairing is fantastic. I'm going to go 85 points on it. I lean a little more towards a little more richer style, but it's still well put together. Solid stuff.
Okay. I can see where you're coming from, Dan. I like the lean raciness of this wine. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a greyhound. And so I think for quaffing, if you were just hanging out on a hammock on a day, not so much. But if you're going to be hanging out at a barbecue in the backyard, perfect wine. I would give it about an 87.
All right.
Yeah.
Really, Dan sort of nailed it for me. Like there is like and when you said raciness to it, it's like the limes and the apples are delivered to you almost on like a steel knife or something. Like there's a very like a steely, sharp component to the way the fruit is delivered on this, and with that comes a short finish and a little bit less richness and a little bit less body in the mouth than I appreciate in my Rieslings. Still a fantastic wine, and Vivian was spot on with the pairings. I would say 85 points for my palate as well.
And it's
right
good
on the edge,
qualified.
very good, yeah.
Because I know that she drinks more Alsace, and Chaz and I hardly drink any. Like we prefer the German style almost across the board. So definitely take that into consideration.
Yes.
If you're more in the department of Alsace, you'll definitely like this wine more. Solid stuff. We're going to move on to wine number 2. This is the Billsboro winery, and this one is from Seneca Lake. This is what 2009 was Finger Lakes Riesling.
In a blind tasting, I
Little
bet
rinse
that would.
here.
In a blind tasting of Alsatian Rieslings, I bet that would totally hold its own.
It'd be pretty
Like
interesting.
low run,
Right,
you know.
right.
But yeah,
But
once you
also-
start to get up to the Grand Crus, then it's like
Right.
something else. But
And this is at $16. Oh, it says semi-sweet on here too, so we can expect a little bit of that. And I also want to make that point.
oh,
it's
this
up
is
20.
a so this is a rinse.
Yep.
Rinse your rinse.
Go for the pour.
Boy, that's an interesting counterpoint to the first wine.
Quite.
Yeah.
Because there's, when it said what, semi? Is it semi?
This is semi-sweet.
Yeah, you're a little chintzy on the pores here, Dan.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, I'm like, come on, man.
I gotta be able to
That's
swirl my glass.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Want to taste the wine, sir?
No, there's 2 rinses, sorry.
Well,
Two
fine, yeah,
rinses.
I'll get you good on the next rinse, I guess. That's all.
Oh, that's
We'll put-
yeah. So I don't know if you like early shows. Dan and I have been really poor to each other, like pouring big rinses, like rinses this big, and we're like, oh, I totally forgot that was a rinse, and you have to on camera, you can't dump it out. You have to.
No. All right, so this is.
Okay, I have to say, the first hit I got off of this wine almost was a little bit of banana. Does anyone smell that?
Yeah.
Because
On
something
suggestion.
slight tropical sweet, almost a creamy, something creamy tropically about it. It's the nose is not. This is
I'm
not,
going more tropical,
Yeah.
and leaning more towards like an orange melon sort of flavor.
And I'd go with
Cantaloupe,
pineapple,
cantaloupe.
not like the syrupy, sweet pineapple in a can, like you just cut into one and there's just
Right.
that hint
Right.
of tropical, but
Right.
still plenty of citrus flavors.
Yeah, this is like the tropical bowl, right? They got the bowl of
Yeah.
fruit.
Yeah,
whatever
we're
going
it's
on.
another combo.
Little bit of everything.
Yep, a little more cream. Definitely, if you're going to compare it to the first wine we had, a little more creaminess. There's a weightier feel to the nose, just without even tasting it.
Yeah, richness even on the nose.
Mhm.
Richness delivers right into the palate. That little bit of residual sugars there. That's really interesting. Wow, some structures coming in late.
Mhm.
And it's not even so much acidity. It's maybe like skins and maybe like, I hate talking about tannins with white wines. It sounds kind of ridiculous, but you're getting a little bit of that feel in the back end, trying things
There's
out.
really a little bit of stuff on the sides of the cheeks going on. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. It's interesting because we usually don't talk about that kind of feeling, but the feeling I get when Dan describes that is, it's almost like there's
Yeah.
this sort of weird, like you ate a sweet tart and it was really sweet, and then it's sour and it's almost like that's what it is to me. Yeah.
Puckering almost.
It's like very puckery. I like this as a surprise in the back palate for me. I mean, it's sort of
agree.
this round sweetness, and I'm like, oh no, it's going to be really a big fat sweet thing in the
No.
back. and it just really kind of leaned out in the back. It became
That acidity comes in late.
So
Yeah.
totally.
Takes its sweet time, which is a long,
It does.
a
It's got
long,
finish.
kind of elegant evolution even, right? And I talk about this a lot, right? Like the quality of the acidity, and I think the quality is really there. Like it's a clean acidity. It feels good as it sits on the palate late. It makes the mouth water a little bit. Even now, right? It's been over 10 seconds I've been talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the flavors kind of fall off. The acidity's still drying there, and the flavors, I'm going to stick with that, like just barely ripe fresh pineapple thing. There's a lot of that going on.
There's a bright red apple too, like a Honeycrisp apple thing going on there. Pretty strong on the
yeah,
palate.
I like that Honeycrisp thing because there's the sweet and sour, or you know what I mean,
Yeah.
the sweet and tart.
There's a little bit, yes, very sweet, but a little like a tart edge to it. Yeah. Delicious.
You
And
know,
this is more in line with my
with
taste.
your buds.
That said, this doesn't represent Europe at all. Like this is definitely
It's
more
own
driven towards New World. I would probably pick this out as Oregon in a blind tasting. Based
Interesting.
on, honestly, I don't think I would pick this out as East Coast Riesling. But delicious, delivers for my palate.
It would confuse the heck out of me. I wouldn't know where this was from blind. So that's cool, right? It's a unique expression, something that maybe I can kind of warm up to.
You know, this has more sweetness when you drink it, but it would still be really good with food.
Mm-hmm.
It's so refreshing.
Because in the back, yeah, like the sweetness kind of
Right,
falls
because
off. Yeah.
it really becomes. This is an interesting wine because it's not like a conundrum. It's not like you're going to scratch your head and think about this all day long. But it's an interesting wine that becomes more as you finish the wine and you swallow the wine. I think this would be really good. Actually, I like this as a barbecue wine. I like it as a chicken wine. You know what? It actually might be good. It might actually be good as a pork burger or like pork skewers because it's like the other white meat. But you can kind of create a little bit of spice. You could even like barbecue some sliced apples and put it on top of your pork. That would be good, wouldn't it?
That would be really good.
I think the spice would be nice because it does have that sweetness to hold up to maybe a little bit of some
little bit of
chilies in
spice.
there or something
A
like
little
that.
Indian spice on your pork skewers, or even a little Mexican if you like that cumin. But it'd be really good with like just a little curry, even just a touch of curry. It'd be yummy.
Step it up here. We're gonna go. I'll go 87 minus on this for me. Solid stuff. Good flavors. I really like the evolution on the back. I really like the evolution on the back end of this.
Chaz?
I'm going to go 89 points on it.
Whoa,
I like this a lot
dude.
because it plays
Feeling
both.
it.
This plays both roles. Like maybe you're talking about how this is interesting and it is a wine you can think about, but this also plays the role of you just want something easy to drink that's delicious and goes with my food and I don't have to think about it.
Right.
You drink it, you put it back, you don't even think about it, it's delicious. You want to sit there and think about it a little bit. It's got enough evolution and things going on that it meets that role for me. So 89 points.
Okay. Well, you know, this is not my go-to type of Riesling. So there's a little too much sweetness, even in the mid palate for me. Even though it leans out at the end, I give it an 86.
All right.
Yep.
Good deal. All right. So on to wine number 3. This is the Thirsty Owl, the Finger Lakes 2009 Dry Riesling, and this is from Cayuga Lake. I suppose you can make very reasonable criticisms that we should have done the two dry Rieslings first.
Why didn't we do the two dry?
Because I ordered them so I could keep track of where they were from and get the locations correct.
Okay.
If it has a lot of trouble, we can come back and revisit it later. But we all taste them in advance. I think these wines all hold up pretty well on their own.
I don't know if you can see the picture, the label, but it's got the cutest owl
Let me see this owl.
on the label.
That's pretty cute.
And then the pictures will be up for all
Owls are
of
pretty
you guys
cool.
to see.
They're cool.
Yeah.
And I guess it must be indigenous, right, to the area. I bet you there's a lot of, that looks like a special kind of owl.
I
I'd
can
like
see
to know that.
I think it's a great horned owl, I think. Yeah. Go ahead, some folks from New York will be watching.
Yeah.
Ask them.
What kind of owl is this? That's what I'd like to know.
Cool. Yeah.
Let's give it a
Yeah.
snifferoo here.
Wow. Totally different notes.
Considerably different, yeah.
I'm getting a little like baked apple even on the nose here. More in the direction of red, and I think a little more of that sweetness is coming through.
This is like apple pie, but without the sweetness.
Yeah, like it's apple pie though, and you put a big wet little ferrous stone or a schisty stone in there. I smell some beautiful minerality with the sort of the fruitiness of that.
I can see that.
And there is a citrus, like a lemon, not a lime,
Or even like a lemon drop. I'm gonna go with like the sweetness that's coming through.
Yeah.
Like get like the little lemon drops out of the plastic bag.
That's where I was
with a
searching.
little dusting
I
of
was,
sugar
like,
on
I was
it.
like, man, this is like kind of old, sort of reduced apples, but I'm not getting much else, and there's something yellow in there. Like
Touch of candy. Touch of candy.
The lemons are totally right.
You know, I almost smell a little, I mean, it's not quite chamomile, but almost like a little meadow flower, a real micro whiff of that.
See
And
that?
I like that.
I got it. So this doesn't taste like anything but green peppers to me.
Oh.
That's
Oh.
all. That's it. It's the only thing I
Green
taste.
peppers?
You don't get the sweetness at all?
Like, it's a tiny bit, but it's like green
Oh.
pepper juice. I mean, it's.
Let me taste that again.
Different lines here.
Yeah, I totally. So when we pre-tasted, I was like, "There's something going on with that I'm not like," and it's like green. It's green. It's green peppers.
I'm getting a little more pears, more than apples, on the palate. Like pretty ripe pears. The acidity sets in at the beginning, and it runs all the way across. It's a little bit rougher than the previous couple wines, and the acidity that we experienced in a couple wines. But the flavors and the acidity kind of last for a long time on the palate.
They do.
I taste, you know how when sometimes you listen to a DJ or you're on the radio and you listen to music, and you've got a really good DJ or whoever's running all the music, and they just segue really well into the next song and the next song. You're like, you're digging it. You're thinking, this is so good. The music's so good. This wine doesn't segue as well as I was hoping, and I'm not sure if it's an age issue. You know, it's not its time. You know, sometimes wine has so much potential, but you just drink it at the wrong time. I'm not sure if it's that or if it's just it's not going to come together no matter how long you put it down into something that's a little more round. I like the citrus. I did taste some pear. I tasted kind of stone, but I didn't taste them all together like a symphony. You know what I mean?
Yep. Getting a little bit of vanilla in there too. But in the end, this is definitely the more simple of the three that we've done so far. Gonna take me
There's a little green in there.
down to 83 points on that.
Green pepper.
Smash that green pepper.
I don't smell
Smash that green pepper.
I'm just not getting it.
I'm smelling
got
like
it.
an herbaceous quality, but not like a savory herbaceous. It's like somebody, you know, like grass.
And that chamomile that you were leaning towards, like that seems the most apt of anything that's crossing through my mind too. There's a little bit of an herbal note. And those of you who are used to wine with a little more sweetness, or like if you're some American grapes, like this kind of reminds me of like a hint of that Niagara, right? Like it's a different sweetness than the Riesling. There's
Yeah,
a little bit of that going on, I
A
think.
little bit.
And if you're fond of that kind of sweetness, I could see that being up your alley. And that floral note, I could see that working for some people too. Not so much for me, and I'm kind of on par with you that it's not as mellowed together as well as it could be. Maybe in another year it's another story. Maybe a little colder would be a little bit better. I wanted to call that out. I said I was going to talk about this more.
Yeah.
These are all, they've been out of the cellar for about an hour, so they're just below room temp, but definitely warmer than most people drink Riesling. But since this is a new thing, this allows us to really feel out the nuance a little bit more. And this is definitely something that I'd show a little more before I got into it too.
So what was your number?
81 points for me.
All right.
So definitely the lower scale. Just the greenness is coming out stronger than anything for me, and it's just not a flavor profile I lean towards. Like it's green on the vegetal side for me.
You don't like green pepper wine?
Oh. but that said, you know, it's totally drinkable, totally quaffable, but
Not your favorite.
Not my favorite.
Not your favorite.
Yep, and 83 points for me. Similar thing, like the flavors aren't really hitting it with me, but it delivers well. Boy, and this is something, so we've been talking about scores quite a bit lately, and I really want to hit that point, that I think when you're talking at this price point, anything above 80 points is worth considering,
That's a good
because it hits
Right.
people's different, you know, depending on what
this
you
tastes
favor,
like something.
this could be right up your
possibly,
alley.
like a region.
Right. And the price point is approachable at $15. A ton of people can get into this. So
Absolutely.
83 points, not entirely up my alley, but still well put together, quality wines. Nothing about this is making me angry or is poorly done or anything like that.
Sure.
Right. And we don't want to get your Irish up, Dan.
Yeah.
I would give it about an 84. Actually, you know what? I'd probably give it an 83. 83 for the wine, a 98 for the label. Because the label is beyond cuteness, and it's just really beautiful and natural. So I'm hoping this wine will evolve, but I'm not sure.
Possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna cross my
Rieslings tend to
fingers.
do that.
Yeah, Rieslings tend to evolve.
Yep, they change themselves, kind of like Madonna.
You know what I would say?
Go ahead.
I would also say, we were talking before we got on camera about wines, and sometimes when you can't drink a whole bottle by yourself, and I like to do different things. You know what? Sometimes you open a wine and you want to be adventurous and curious, and I think that's always a great thing in anything in life. Try it, so what, right? But if you don't like it and you don't want to drink the rest of the bottle, you can do a lot of different things with it. Like you could make a sangria if you wanted. You could make a white wine spritzer.
And a lot of people like to hate on that. Don't hate on
Don't
that.
hate on that.
Wine's for enjoying.
It's delish. It's like a punch. Think of it as punch. Anyways, that's my little 2 cents.
All right, wine number 4. This is definitely a shift. This is something that I purchased a Pinot Noir from these guys a while ago. We were doing a tasting of Pinot Noir from.
No,
We all did rinses. You need to do rinse.
yeah, you were still on the thirsty owl there.
Yeah. And
You're behind.
As funny as it would be to lie to you about that, like this is the
No,
truth right now. I picked up a bottle of Pinot Noir from these guys for a blind tasting of Pinots from around the world, and saw that they had a reserve Riesling. I'm like, what the heck? I'll order that too. Len Thompson from New York Cork Report was talking these guys up, said they do great work. So I was really looking forward to breaking this onto a show. When Dana brought these wines out, I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity. This, I want to say, was in the upper 20s, so we're approaching double the price point of the other wines in the show. So kind of expecting a little bit more complexity here, but we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Well-regarded producer.
I love this wine again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, glass
Okay,
nose.
ready?
Go.
All right.
So I'm getting apple flavors again, more in the direction of red apples, but not like the like rich, thicker fruit that I get out of Washington Rieslings. And there's a little bit of a spicy note going on here too.
There's a clarity. There is a real sort of a purity in the nose too. It's not. I don't mean simple, and I don't mean just clean, because there's complexity. But there's sort of it's sort of like a beautiful line. So if you were wearing a dress, it would be like an A-line skirt.
Yeah, Chaz, if you were wearing a dress.
Happens all the time.
TMI.
A little bit of minerality on the nose too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like some stones, and wet stones, like that are in a river, water's running
Right?
over it.
River stones,
Yeah,
totally.
river stones.
A little bit of spices there, it's good. Good fruit. Yeah.
I like the temperature of this wine too right now. Makes
Some
a
stuff shows
difference.
really well,
Yeah,
not ice cold.
this isn't ice cold.
I think you'd be robbing it if it was, right? If you just pulled this right out of the freezer, you'd be selling it short.
Yeah, totally.
Some good complexity. The apple flavor that's suggested on the nose is coming through. It's a little more in the green direction on the nose. It was more red apples. There's definitely some tartness here. Acidity comes in on the mid palate. It runs out long. Acidity's got some good texture to it. It lasts for a long time. It keeps things clean. I really like how that's playing out.
I gotta talk about it. So we did. The camera died earlier when we were
Yeah, you
filming
probably
this.
noticed an awkward cut.
Yeah, the camera died earlier, and I really didn't like this wine when we were sort of doing. I mean, I liked it, but it was like it just wasn't ready to drink. There was sort of like this chemically flavor. I'm not getting any of that.
No, it
It's
blew
totally
off.
faded.
The nose blew off.
Yeah, the nose is
yeah.
good now, and the palate's still got something there. It's still an aggressive palate, definitely young and a little bit abrasive. But the flavors here are delicious. They're full on. The acidity is just all the way across the board. Yeah, much better than the previous. I'm glad we filmed
And this is like
again.
5 minutes ago.
Yeah. It's amazing how much this blew off in 5 minutes. Like I'm almost like tasting a different.
So
wine.
the heck, like decant it, right? Why not?
Absolutely.
If you got a bottle of this stuff.
Decant it. Not only that, you know what? It tastes better, a little warmer in the glass. And I don't mean this is not warm. It's just that when you pull a wine out of the fridge, it's freaking cold.
Yep.
And sometimes
Doesn't
it
taste
tastes
like
so
anything.
good. Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't always taste the real sort of the nuances of a wine. And now that it's kind of slightly warmed up, it's warmed up to you. It's like a warmer, more engaging wine.
Showing the nuance,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And it's not. I still think it's too young for me because there's just a lot of.
It is.
There's a lot of structure, beautiful structure, but it's just really acidic still for me. And I don't mean like yuck. I just mean like wow. it could be a force to contend with. Right now, it's like, I think sort of my description earlier was, it's like a little sassy teenager.
That was a great analogy.
A little
for it.
mouthy.
That was a great analogy.
And
for it.
funny and smart, but not quite, it's still awkward. Still awkward.
Getting 4.0s in high
Yeah,
school,
like
you know, but man, like socially, just awkward,
Yeah.
not there yet.
Runs the mouth a little too much.
Yeah.
You can tell when she's 19, she's going to be beautiful.
That's right.
And it's like, that's
Gets
where this wine
together
is.
and
Yep.
Crafty.
And so yeah, this wine, now decant it, because there was sort of a chemical thing going on earlier for me in the nose, like almost
Yeah.
like if I
Whoa,
pulled too hard,
it was tough.
it would make me cough.
Yeah.
Decant it if you're going to drink it now, but this is potentially something that could become really, really good with 5 years age, 10 years age, like easily.
I like this. These are all good food wines. This one's interesting. This could take a little bit of spice, but I wouldn't be going to getting vindaloo or anything. I think it would taste good with sort of a subtle, maybe slight, like a little Vietnamese, sort of French sort of flavors with a little bit of heat.
That little best baguette.
Yeah, a little best baguette.
With the jalapeno.
Or use
Yeah.
a pho, straight up big bowl of pho.
Right,
Ooh,
and something with a little bit of that sort of 5-spice element and a little coriander, but not like hard-hitting,
Yeah.
heavy-duty kind of in-your-face kind of spice. It would just overpower this pretty wine, and so yeah, I like that.
And I'm gonna run with this. Like I liked it in the first take. I'm liking it even more now. The fruit's hitting. It's got a good texture to it, and then it opens up. Like the richness comes in without being thick, without it being flabby. It's just like full, delicious fruit. It runs out on the palate. There's a little bit of minerality. I'm getting a good expression. It's dominantly apple flavored, but the acidity lasts for a long time. It's clean. I really like how this is coming together. I can see it aging well. I really like it right now. So I'm gonna go. What the heck? I'm gonna go 89 points. Why not? Rock solid.
I thought you were going to go over 90.
Nope, it's not quite there. It's I mean, yeah, little on the tighter side, I guess. That's how we roll. But it's amongst the best American Rieslings I've had. Rock solid. Nice. I'm liking it right now. So
Yeah, I like that. I like it a lot too. I still think it needs more time, and I think I tend to score maybe a little higher. If I were to use my scoring when I do these silly scoring notes sometimes on my tasting notes, I would call it a delicious taste treat. It's really yummy, and it's beautiful, and it's singing right now. But it could be
So much
it
more.
could be a real symphony if you lay it down, forget about it, and then revisit it and see what kind of story it's going to tell you. Because I think it will. I would give it an 80. I would give it an 89.
all right.
Yeah.
87 plus, but with massive upward potential. Right now, I would say don't drink it. I would say give it at least another year or two, and then start drinking it if you buy like 3, 5, every couple of years, out to like 10, 15 years from now, because it's going to go somewhere really interesting. There's no doubt with that much power, that much structure, with that much acidity, it's got a good road ahead of it. It may be huge, but it's like balanced in its largeness of everything, right? Like everything is sort of there's pieces, they're all there, but they're all tuned up where but they're separate.
No, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense, right? Like it's
You
big
see
and-
its potential.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I think we all agree.
could see it come together, but it's just not there right now.
And I really want to make that point too, right? Again, like this is in the upper 20s. So when you're talking upper 20s price point for Riesling, especially from America, that's getting to be unusual, and that's getting to be kind of a high standard. And I think this still is delivering at that point, which good on them.
Totally.
Thanks for taking the time and effort. Like they say on the back, it's a blend of select grapes from a bunch of different vineyards. Like really, thanks for taking the time and effort to make such a high quality Riesling. It reflects well on all the stuff coming out of your area. It's great.
And I'd also add that Riesling is a highly underrated grape.
And
And
we don't want it to get highly rated.
Especially on the West Coast.
I mean,
It
part
keeps
of
it
us,
cheap. It
yes,
keeps it
part
cheap.
of us like the fact because it's a great deal, great values. You can find fantastic, yummy wines for a really good price. But because it's a good price, you know what? Go to your local wine shop and just ask for a really good Riesling that's within whatever, $12, $15 or under $15.
You can pick up amazing Riesling
Yeah.
under $20.
Totally.
Amazing. We're
Totally.
talking like Donhoff single vineyard cabinets, $19.
Yep. Good stuff from
Yeah.
your state,
Yeah.
whatever. Well, Oregon, Washington, New York, and now
Washington, New York.
shown
Yeah,
that they
try
can deliver
this.
both at
Lewiston,
this point.
yeah.
Be adventurous. Why not?
Yeah, so and cool stuff from New York. If you're ever out on the East Coast, definitely check it out. That's pretty much all we got to taste today. You said you had something you wanted to ask the audience?
Oh, I did. I wanted to ask all of you out there, what do you do with your leftover wine?
There we go. Killer question.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, and you know, she's
Other
big
than
into
drink
food.
it out of the bottle.
Well, yeah, but like, yeah, let's
What
spend
do
a couple
you
days
do?
in the fridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the fridge.
What the heck? That's fun. What do you do?
Still drink it.
Yeah.
Well, I do too. I mean, let's assume it's not.
Come
I mean,
home from work, you know.
I,
Like,
Yeah.
I don't. I think you can drink your wine. I put it in the fridge and drink it a few days later. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's been there for maybe a week. You know, maybe a couple weeks. It's been in your fridge. What do you do?
Big challenge.
So speaking to that Franken wine that we did with Ewald on the last show, I just drank the last of that today.
A week later,
A week later.
rock
Was it
solid.
It's
delicious?
still good.
There you go.
Sweet. And,
Yep.
and me, honestly, like I try it, if it's, and I'll drink it pretty far out if it lasts, right? Like good Rieslings, good acidic white wines, Sauterne. I think you could leave that for a month.
Yeah, Sauterne you can
But
really
after it
let
falls
that
off,
sit.
it just goes down the drain for me. I don't cook as much as I probably should. So
But you know, if you're not going to cook with Sauterne or something sweet, or even if you have, just put it on over a little ice cream. Yum.
that's smart.
If you're gonna use, if you have some left over and you got a blender, you know, make a milkshake. I make a peach milkshake or whatever, and I put the leftover dessert wine in there.
Smart.
It's yummy. It's yummy.
Love how creative you are.
That's good
Right.
stuff.
Yeah,
Thanks
great
for watching.
show.
Great show. See you later.